What's going on, everybody? Matt Malatesta, Jackson T. Pasquale, on my whistle, talking football, Greater Houston and beyond. Year two. Wildly successful last season. All right, so everybody, go check out the content. Our magazine will be out this week, and it will be at HEB grocery stores, and you can go check it online. Go to our social media. You can purchase it and have it delivered right to your house. Even better. But we wanted to get here a couple weeks before the season starts, or a week before the season starts, just to talk about what we feel are the biggest storylines going into the season. For me, our number one team is Northshore. The biggest storyline going into the season, for me, is Northshore. Is Northshore the Northshore of old? Can we just, pencil them in right now as a state Final Four participant? I don't know that we can. We had the Chase Calicut situation for their defensive side of the ball, the 4-star defensive back who had committed to Georgia. He's no longer on the team. Everybody's probably seen all of the social media / news stories. We won't get into all of it, but that affects a football team. Really affects a football team. Not just on the field, but in the locker room, for sure. So, Northshore. Thoughts about Northshore going into this season?
I still think they'll be good. I think that they've got a lot of pieces. You talk about Caleb Maryland. He's seen a lot of playing time, though he hasn't been the starter. He's come in some key situations. I believe last year or 2 years ago, he came in against Clear Springs in a playoff game in which they was like 17-14 was like the final score. But he played a majority of that game because Caleb Bailey had gotten hurt. So you have a quarterback who's got some experience. I think that he's going to be able to do some things maybe that Caleb Bailey wasn't necessarily his strong suit. They lost some wide receivers. They also brought up some wide receivers from the younger grades, and Aubrey Johnson and LaDamian DeFries, that I think are still going to be big-time playmakers and guys that, when we look back after this year, will be high-level recruits. I think that, their offensive line is massive. I think they were one of the biggest offensive lines we saw when we went out to spring practice. They also added a kid that wasn't there when we were there, and Brandon Hebert, who transfers over from, or Herbert, that transfers over from Port Arthur Memorial, big 6'7", 300-pound tackle. So they're going to be big up front. They're going to be offensively. I think they can still do some things. They don't necessarily have a key running back like they have in the past. So that'll be a question mark for them. Defensively, the defensive line has a little bit of youth, and they also have some senior leaders that they're going to be bigger than they have been. Coach Wynn even talked about that when we were out there for spring practice. Linebackers, I think, will be okay. They've always got solid guys at the linebacker position. I think the biggest question mark is going to be this secondary. They're going to be really young now. With Chase being one of the seniors that is gone, I believe it'll be a bunch of juniors and sophomores. Even you could see some freshmen pop in there. I think that they're going to be really young, and that's going to be the biggest thing that has me a little worried. Juan Hernandez is a kid in the 2028 class that has really done well in camps and stuff this summer. I think he's going to have to take a step up. I think he could be the next Northshore DB that we talk about that is going to be a high-level recruit across the country, but they don't have that guy that they have had the past 4 years in the secondary. When you talk about Denver Harris, Javen Anderson, Jacoby Davis, Devin Sanchez, you had Chase, you had
Morris,
you had Nigel Pringle. Like, you talk about the guys that they've had over the past 4 years, they don't have one of those guys in the secondary this year. So I think that's going to be the biggest test for Northshore is offensively, can you get Maryland in a groove? Do you have enough weapons to score? And defensively, can you hold out a team that is a air raid or passing offense? And it's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out this year for them.
They got a new offensive coordinator. I think that's a big deal coming over from Deer Park. I think you're going to see them run the ball too. They're going to go with tight ends. I think it's going to be a new look offense, which I'm excited to see about. When you think Northshore is down, which from the outside people will be like, they're down. They are a little down, but they always reload. I think they have a really special sophomore and freshman class also that is kind of that class that every 4 years that just kind of carries the baton for them. At the quarterback spot, Caleb Maryland, he's committed to Utah State. He's well respected for his teammates. He's tiny. I know you don't think he's tiny. He's tiny, especially behind that offensive line, which might help. But he's really a good leader. He can throw the ball. He's pretty dynamic. I think he can run a little bit. They don't have a running back to speak of yet. Someone will emerge. But leads me to think, is this Atascocita's year in Big 6A? Or is it Summer Creek's year? I know they're smaller 6A. Can they win that district? Can they beat Northshore? Can Summer Creek win state this year? Summer Creek is consistently in the conversation, and we don't really talk that much about them. No. But man, they got to transfer. They got to move in a quarterback. We'll talk about the move-in situation here in a minute. I want to talk about. I think that's a big story as we're moving into the season. But Atascocita, Summer Creek, do they have enough to advance to state and knock off the bullies of the district?
Atascocita, they do have Carde Mack, the district MVP, coming, or I believe he was the district MVP last year. They do have him coming back. My question mark is, they lost some seniors on the offensive line. And that has been Atascocita's bread and butter, is they have a lineman. Talking with Carde a little bit, throughout the offseason, that they're still trying to find their groove up front. And then you graduate Kyron Pate, who was an elite punt returner, elite wide receiver. He's not there. Who's going to step up in the wide receiving core? I think CJ Toney, who played a lot last year, played on the baseball team. I think he's going to be fine there. I think there's just a lot of question. You also lose Torrey Blaylock. You lose...
It's a big deal.
You lost a lot of talent last year offensively. I'm curious to see how they bounce back. Carde is going to be great. We know what he can do. We know how dynamic and how much of a big playmaker he is for Atascocita. But you can't put it all on his shoulders. There's got to be guys stepping up, and I think that's the biggest question mark, and that's why they maybe were dropped down in the rankings for us, is because there is some question marks offensively. Defensively, they've got two guys in the secondary, Tavon Bolden and Trenton Blaylock. They're both high-level recruits. I think they're going to be fine in the secondary. It'll be interesting to see who the other two guys are who step up there. And then they got, I believe it's Jason Johnson up front, a defensive lineman. That is big time. He's a big old kid. He's going to wreak some havoc. Still, I think there's just a lot of holes right now for us. Looking at who they got coming back, we don't know what we're going to see from them in about 2 weeks when they have to play Westlake in Lamar in non-district, Westlake in non-district, and Katy in non-district.
They're going to get beat.
We're going to find out how good Atascocita is in those first 3 weeks.
And the other thing is that's a really tough schedule. Just to get through that gauntlet and stay healthy. And that's another piece.
And then go to districts.
And then to go to district, which is brutal.
Yes.
So, people are always clamoring for Atascocita. This is their year. This is our year. We're going to do it. And I don't know that it's their year. I don't. Even with Northshore, a little, they're going to have some bumpy roads. I'm not sure this is their year to win district. I'm more confident in Summer Creek.
I am too. The quarterback transfer from Flower Mountain, Noah Spinks or Spinks, I don't know how exactly you pronounce it yet, but I'll figure that out soon. He threw for 2,500 yards last year, I believe, somewhere in the 20s for 18 to 20s to touchdowns. Watching that kid throw the ball, from what I've seen just on Twitter or on his tape, he can really spin it. And not to take anything away from Blake Thomas, but he wasn't really a quarterback. That's not really his position. I don't think he's playing that in college at Lamar. This kid, Spinks, he can throw the ball. And he's got some speedsters out wide in Trey Brown. And there's another 2027 that he's got that's got some offers as well. They've got some weapons to throw the ball to, and they've got their two running backs back. And when Summer Creek made it to state 2 years ago, they had Lloyd Avant, and Lloyd Avant was mainly their offense. Last year, you saw them air it out a little bit. Well, now they got a kid who can really air it out. Defensively, they're going to be solid. If we've seen what they've done the past 2 years, they've consistently gotten defensive linemen that'll go to the next level. They've got good linebacking core, and they've got good secondary players. I think they're going to be fine on defense. I think offense, you're going to see more explosive plays, and I think if there was a year for a team other than Northshore to win this district, I think Summer Creek is the sleeper right now to win this district. And I also think there's another team that no one is talking about in this district as well.
King.
I think C King is going to be another team that's good. And then you also have Kingwood in this district. This is going to be a battle. And I think one of the teams that we're going to be talking about really heavy is not going to make the playoffs this year.
That's incredible to say. I'm sorry. Let's see. Goose Creek and Channelview and
Humble.
Oh my gosh, brutal. Okay, so then that opens the door for a team that I love. I love the coaches and Rick Lefever's here. He does a great job. Great message. Great kids. Can they take it up another level and advance to the state Final Four and win that region with uber talent? Go ahead.
Okay, so Ridge Point came out in our preseason rankings number 2. I got lots of texts about that. All I'm going to say is it's time to prove it.
Yeah.
This year. If there was a year for y'all to win Region 3 and advance the state, it's this year. Y'all have all the talent in the world over there. Y'all have at least 20 plus kids with Division I offers or going Division I. This is the year. Their offense line is massive. They're going to be able to push people around, especially in district. The test game for them will be Bridgeland, who advanced to a regional final in Region 2 last year and took Duncanville down to the wire. So I think that matchup versus Bridgeland non-district is going to be key for them. They've got to figure out the quarterback position. They've got 3 guys they've got Fielder, Seymour, and Barty. All 3 are solid quarterbacks. One of them is going to have to step up and show he's the guy. So
I think it's their defense. I don't think their front is good. I mean, I don't think it's enough to hold. I don't think their front, because we did when we me and Randy McAvoy did their spring game, and we were coaching, and I coached the defense. It's the physicality that worries me with them playing against anyone in that Northshore, Humble, or Summer Creek,
23,
Atascocita, all that district. It's that.
I think defensively,
I think they got skills.
They've got the Smith brothers on the interior playing defensive line. Linebacker wise, they got Kalen Taylor, they got Braden Bonnick, they got Aaron Williams, Preston Hall. 3 of those guys are high level D1 kids. Another one is going to be high level D1 as well. I think how physical are they going to be? We're going to find that out against Bridgeland. I think we're going to find that out against Bridgeland because I think Bridgeland is a very physical team based off of what we saw from them last year. I need to see it from them this year. If there's a year, Ridge Point, if there's a year for you, it is this year. Y'all need to do it this year. We're not sleeping on y'all, but we need to see it from y'all this year.
Yeah, it is funny because, and I do think they kind of feel that because they have gotten a lot of move-ins.
Yes.
A lot of move-ins. Northshore has a big offensive lineman move-in. Summer Creek has a quarterback move-in. Ridge Point has a ton of kids move in. The Fulshire receiver transfers and moves into Klein, where Nick Caduti was the Fulshire coach and now he's the Klein coach. Willis has they were kind of caught in a situation with the Woodlands. Those 2 teams do not like each other. They didn't get the move-ins that actually moved there, and they were voted against. And here's my issue. And this is, Nick Caduti said it best. If you don't want to play here, and you feel like you could go somewhere else to go play, and it's a better fit for you, then go. I will sign the paperwork, and away you go. I think that's where this is all going eventually because everything's going to be an open district. But a set of twins were transferring from the Woodlands to Willis, and they were blocked. And they fought it. I mean, they fought it, and they lost. And that would have changed the complexion of what Willis would look like as a football team because now you have to start a non-quarterback, but one of the best athletes in the country in Jermaine Bishop as your quarterback, which I don't feel that's going to work. And that completely changes the outlook for Willis. There's so much movement. The rules are discombobulated. Some places you can move, and it's just weird. But I don't know what I hope. Do I want it to be wide open? Not really. Do I want there to be rules around it? Kind of. But it's got to be consistent. The consistency is what we're looking for.
I think it's just, in Houston, you see more kids getting blocked than I feel like we do see in Dallas. That's the interesting thing to me. Is like nonstop, I see Dallas Morning News post like, oh, this kid transferred to North Crowley, or this kid transferred to Duncanville, or this kid transferred to DeSoto. So it's just kind of interesting that like you see up there, I don't know if they have problems with it or not, but from our perspective, it doesn't seem like it. Down here, it seems like any kid that tries to move even to a different district, to a different division of like 6A, 5A, like there is a whole, like everyone's up in arms about it. And so like, I think that there was a law that they were trying to get passed as far as players being able to transfer one time free of
for athletic reasons,
if they wanted to, from when they are 9th grade to 12th grade. I think at some point that is going to be approved, and I'm not opposed to it because if it's only one time, then it's going to end up working out how it's going to work out anyways. But yeah, I think that I was always a fan of just wait your turn. Like if you're a younger guy, I get wanting to play right away. I get it. But sometimes you might not see what coach is seeing and you're just not ready yet. Or there's a guy in front of you that at this point in time you are not better than. And that's okay. That happens. Sometimes in life you're not going to get things right away. But it's just going to be interesting to see how it all plays out with all the movement that's been happening, especially in the city.
The Elkins quarterback, who was a star for Elkins, moved to Ridgepoint in the same district, in the same ISD. I don't get it. I mean, it's wild. It's just not consistent, but whatever. But these move-ins are going to affect the landscape of high school football, and it makes it hard for us because we don't know where the hell these kids are going. They're like all over the place. Anyways, Katy, we don't talk about Katy. Katy's going to be good. Do we think Jordan's going to beat them? No, they're not going to beat them. Katy is good. And they could reemerge in the Region 3 conversation. I mean, it's always tricky. Are they going to go big? Are they going to go small? Who knows? But I think they could emerge as a sleeper. Crazy to say a 9-time state champ could be a sleeper to get to the state Final Four.
They got Shemaine Hill coming back. That's a big piece. I mean, he's been a 2-year. This will be his 3rd year as the starting varsity running back. I believe he's above 3,000 or 4,000 career yards at Katy. He's kind of the focal point on offense. They have to replace quarterback who is a 2-year starter. That's tough, especially at that school. They don't necessarily pass the ball a lot, but in certain situations, they need a guy who can throw the ball. So it's going to be interesting to see who steps up there. I don't necessarily. They've got Cade McCall on the outside at wide receiver. He's a returning guy. Offensively, I don't know what else they really got. Defensively, they got Isaiah McMillian, Kentucky commit, one of the fastest kids probably in the city of Houston. He's going to be solid. He's going to lock down one side of the field. They're also having to replace a lot of seniors in the secondary as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what Katy does defensively. They're always going to reload. We know that, but I think if there was a year for another team to potentially, I'm not saying will, but potentially win the district, it could be this year.
And that would be Jordan.
I think if you look
or it could be Pato.
I like Pato. I do like Pato. I think that they have the bigs to compete up front, and the way they dominated running the ball last year was pretty impressive.
Yeah, they're pretty good. They're physical, man.
They're really physical, and they've got Vanderbilt defensive tackle Daryl Campbell coming back. They had a move in from California at quarterback. They're going to have, I believe, one of the running backs who was kind of their two-headed monsters is back this year. So I think they're going to be good. I think they're a playoff team this year.
Oh, for sure.
Jordan is going to be the question mark for me. They got a ton of talent again this year. A ton of talent. But in that game against Katy, they just they are able to dominate the line of scrimmage. That is all Katy. If you want to beat Katy, you gotta win the line of scrimmage. That is the way to beat that team.
Yeah. And you got to make them one-dimensional, which they're kind of one-dimensional anyways. But they're going to run the same play over and over until you stop that play.
Yep.
That is what I love about a Katy and a Northshore and these Atascocita is kind of that way now. But it's a program. Like, love them or hate them, Gary Joseph is that dude, man. He has built this program that it's a machine, and it just... I'm not saying it runs itself because the coaches do an amazing job making these kids fit in this program. But I mean, dude, it's an amazing system that they have. And what I love about what they do is they're going to get you what they call the middle four. They're going to get you 4 minutes before halftime. They're going to block a punt, get an interception, do something crazy, and put you in a bad spot, and they're going to score before halftime. They're going to get the ball at halftime, and they're going to score, and the game's over. I've seen it 100 times. They're amazing at that. So I love Katy. I think Pato could be Jordan. I just think Pato is just, man, they're nasty physical, and I love that in high school football. But you just can't prepare for that. Anybody? Woodlands up north is going to be good. Nobody's giving them a whole bunch of run. I do think they're going to be good. Do they beat Willis this year? They've lost the district to Willis 2 times in a row. I think they do. Who else up north do we love that would be a Region 2 team?
I think other than the Woodlands, I mean, Willis has gone 3 rounds deep.
Bridgeland's going to be good.
I think Bridgeland is the other team. Because last year, to give Woodlands credit, the Woodlands deserves a little credit here because last year, no one picked them against that Duncanville team. And they took Duncanville down to the wire in the fourth quarter, 28-20, and they had the ball. Now, once DeCorian Moore goes on defense and they're able to lock some things down, Duncanville ended up making that game look a lot less closer than it was. But Bridgeland gave them a fight in the regional final. And Cash Schwab, the sophomore running back now, junior, he's coming back. He was pretty electric last year for Bridgeland. I believe he had over 1,200 yards rushing that last year and probably above 10 to 12 touchdowns. I think he's going to be the focal point on offense. They got Tyler Beagle back at quarterback. They did lose the 2 offensive tackles, but they replaced them with some younger guys who have already been seen out at camps and showcases, and they're big. They're just as big as those 2 guys. I think they'll be fine up front. Coach Madison knows what he's doing, coaching that offensive line and getting those guys ready. Defensively, they've got a few defensive backs that are getting some looks right now and were solid coverage guys last year. I think it's just going to be a question of that front 5. Can you find the right guys to piece together? And I think they'll be able to do that. I think they're the other team to watch. Cy Ranch is another one that, if they can put it together this year, they could be scary. Because they're big and they're physical on both fronts. They've got Braden Baker back at quarterback, who was kind of split in time last year with the senior. Now it's his show. Big 6'4" kid that can really spin it. They've got some weapons out wide. They've got a nice little running back coming back who I believe was banged up last year, but now he's kind of back fully healthy. Defensively, they've got Calvin Thomas going to North Carolina. They've got Amari Vickerson, one of the top defensive tackle recruits in the country. They've got a few other pieces in the secondary that they need to replace from some seniors graduating, but I think they're a sleeper, and I think that up front they're going to dominate people at the line of scrimmage. Armani Edwards is the top player in the state of Texas for the 2028 class. He's 6'6", 300 pounds already as going to be sophomore.
That's crazy.
They're going to be good. And I think they're a scary team to watch out for up north, other than Woodlands, Willis, and Bridgeland. I think it's those kind of 4. Tomball could be a sleeper. They got Jackson Falden back. They got a sophomore running back in Ian Thomas, son of Rodney Thomas, A&M legend running back. I think that they're going to be solid. I just don't know with what they had graduated. I just don't know what they look like once they get into the playoffs. Yeah,
I mean, I'm excited for the season. I think there's just a lot of unknown of what's going to happen, which makes it fun to me. 5A, you have the Emergence of Iowa Colony, who's really a uber talented team, and they're coming. They're coming as a program, and they're going to be the future of that South area, I think. But you've got Randall. Randall wins the state championship last year. Coach Randall, amazing. They got Lando Williams Callis back, super talent. They lose 2 of their coordinators. One goes to Fulsher, one becomes the head coach at Memorial. So that is kind of a bigger deal because you got to get new people in place. We were out there, and they had such a lack of coaches when they were trying to run, spring ball, which is tough. Yes, I think they're gonna. Right now, they're the odds-on favorite to make it to state from the 5A area.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, their offensive line might be bigger than some 6A schools this year. They're going to dominate the line of scrimmage. They have a lot of talent returning back on the offense line, which is going to make life a lot easier for number one. And you're going to see Callis putting up some big numbers, I think, again this year. They got Tyler Skrabanek coming back at quarterback. Interested to see what he can do this year now that it's kind of his show, his turn to kind of really just take over the offense at the quarterback. Decorian Rubin is another playmaker offensively and defensively for them. He's going to be going to Lamar. And then defensively, they did lose pieces on the defense line. They lost Chase Sims. He was a big piece of the defense line.
Huge deal. Who else did they lose on offense and defense? Sweeney.
They lost Sweeney. That was tough. That'll be tough. Here's my thing.
He doesn't look like anything. That dude was a playmaker as the quarterback, receiver, running back, whatever you wanted him to be. He was that guy. And Chase Sims was the engine of that defense.
But
I know what you're going to say.
Here's the thing about Randall. I think, talking to Coach Randall, I think that they're going to have guys in the defensive front. They're going to be solid. They're going to be fine. The big thing for them is they got Ryan Mallory, the state defensive MVP, at one linebacker. And they got Pac-Man Dominguez at the other linebacker, the TCU commit. And when those two guys come out on the field, they're a team. Once they come off the bus with Pac-Man leading that group out into the field, you don't want to play them once they get going.
He better be good.
I think they're going to be good.
Like 3 years.
We haven't seen him in a year. Haven't seen him in a year. I think Pac-Man's coming out with a little chip on his shoulder.
He should,
because he wasn't eligible last year, but. I think Randall's just going to be just fine. I think they are the odds favorite to make it back. I think Iowa Colony is going to give them a run for their money, though, because Iowa Colony lost 2 games last year, and it was to Randall in the regular season, and it was to Randall in the regional final.
And they kind of handled them.
They did. Now, the regional final was a close game. That went to overtime. So I think that Iowa Colony is ready. I think Carson White got bigger. He's more mature. I think he's going to be... I think he could rival Callis for MVP of the district this year. They also got Jaden Warren back fully healthy. Last year he wasn't healthy for the entire year. This year he's fully healthy, the Houston commit, and he's going to be awesome to watch. Defensive backs are loaded. They got a Houston commit. They got a San Diego State commit and Jeremy Garner. They've got other pieces that I think they're going to be fine. I think that the big game in that district is going to be when they meet for that. We're not going to call it a district title game, but it could be the district title game when they meet in about mid-October or late September.
On the VYPE Thursday Night Showdown. That's going to be a great game. Iowa Colony is going to win. Bam. I said it. That's a damn track team. Their track team was wild. And they won state. And it's like, that Warren kid, who the receiver, shoot. Just throw it. Just say hike and throw it 40 yards and he'll go track it down. That guy can go.
Oh, yeah.
So I do really like them. Other teams at 5A?
Angleton made it to the state semi last year. They played LaPorte in the regional final.
Another good team?
I think both those teams are going to be good. LaPorte had a lot of young talent that's coming back this year. I think they're going to be even better this year. They just opened up that brand new stadium, so they want to show fans, at home games that, hey, this is what this stadium is for. We're going to play some good football. I think Angleton's going to be good. Barber's Hill could be interesting.
Blue collar teams.
Oh yeah, they're going to be good.
They're industrial, wrench turner families, man. It's crazy. Don't even talk about Barber's Hill. Don't even talk about Barber's Hill.
They could be interesting.
No.
They could be interesting.
No, they're not. They're not interesting.
New coach.
I like Cody Semper. He's coming over from Sidewoods. He did an amazing job at Sidewoods. I'm not trying to hear nothing about Barber's Hill football because how do you look? The coach that was previously there was doing a great job. All right, you have what you have there at Barbers Hill. You got to coach them kids up, and when it comes hunting season, the season's over. They don't care about football. They care about hunting. And that's been told to me by a dozen people.
And players.
And players. Cody Semper, he might be the highest paid coach in Texas going to Barbers Hill. And I get it. But we're going to find out because the quarterback that he had at Cy Woods, Darian
Rogers.
They ain't got nobody over there like that.
Well, they did, except I believe he transferred already.
He ain't. Nobody's like that. That Cy Woods talent versus the Barbers Hill talent, it's not even in the same parking lot. It's not even close. But I know we love to talk about Barbers Hill, but I've succumbed to that too. But I'm not on the Barbers Hill bandwagon.
I think, okay, another team that I'm interested to see what happens with for 5A, and you're not going to like this.
If you're going to say Lake Creek.
No.
Oh.
Montgomery is a team that I'm excited about because when I went out to their media day and saw the size that they have, I was like, okay, like they could do something. They could do some damage. Montgomery's a team, but I think a sleeper one that no one's talking about because they lost somebody big time last year is Galveston Ball. I think they could be sleepy good and make a playoff appearance again this year. No, they don't have Jonah Williams. No, they don't have Kyden Barker. They do have a lot of talent coming back. I think Galveston Ball could be a sleeper. Texas City's another one that could be pretty good as well. But I think out of those three that I just talked about, Montgomery is a team that I'm like, they could make a run.
I thought, for me, I didn't go out there, but I thought that was an anomaly last year because they had a really good running back. Or he was a quarterback. I think he was a really good quarterback. I think the running back might be back. I can't remember. But they beat some people. I was like, what the heck? And that's a freaking tough district.
It is.
With PNG, Huntsville. Huntsville is legit. Nederland, very well coached from a guy from Katy. And then you got Lake Creek. And then you got Montgomery. And other teams.
I think there's a couple other in there.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a very hard district.
Yeah, I mean, talking to Coach Cooper over there, he was telling me about, because I was asking him, I was like, what's the travel like? You play 1 week where you're at home, and then you go to PNG,
that's 2.5 hours
and then
away.
you come back, and then you go to Nederland the next week, and it's like, whoa.
Then you go to Huntsville.
Yeah, and it's so like, but talking to him, he feels really good about his group. His quarterback, he graduated one quarterback, but the other quarterback actually got a lot of playing time because that one had gotten hurt. The other one had gotten hurt. So and he's a big kid. He's about 6'2", 6'3", like big kid. But they've got some defensive linemen that might be two of the bigger defensive linemen I've seen at all. Like 6'8", like in general. So like, I think they're going to be really good. They're another team in 5A that I think not everybody's going to be talking about, but I think they'll be a team that everybody is quickly talking about once we get closer to end of the season.
So what did we learn? We learned that the city of Houston's more balanced this year. The transfer rule the transfers will play a huge impact on who's doing what and who's having success. Yes, there are those programs, very handful of programs that are really special that have just continue to win, and they win because they're a program, and that's kind of your Katy and Northshores. What else are you looking? The 5A world is exciting in the city of Houston, and they might have the best chance of winning a state championship in 5A.
Yeah.
That was the only team that won. The one in Houston was 5A, Randall.
I think 5A is probably your best shot again this year. You're probably going to have to play South Oak Cliff again. Unless PNG or one of the teams that we just talked about with Montgomery or Lake Creek or Nederland, unless one of those teams beats Sauk in the playoffs because they're in Region 2, then maybe you see a Houston versus Houston matchup in the state final. But I think it's Randall and Iowa Colony, and we're not sleeping on Marshall. Marshall's going to be good too. It's a tough district to play in. It's tough because those two teams are on the rise. I'm not saying Marshall's on a downfall because they're still a really good football team. It's a tough district. Now, Marshall could make some noise, though, and become the number 2 team in that district. But watching how Iowa Colony was able to kind of handle them in that playoff game at NRG in the 3rd round, I think it's going to be Randall Iowa Colony again in a regional final, and that's your best chance to win state. I think
Marshall loses because of their numbers. They're a very, very small school. And as those other schools grow, watch out for them to potentially go to a 4A. I'm just guessing, but their enrollment is much lower, but they do a ton with the enrollment that they have carry on.
Yeah, I think 5A, that's 5A, 6A. I think 6A D2. I think Summer Creek's a team to watch. I think if there was for me to pick a favorite to make state, I think Summer Creek's that team.
Yep.
I think Kingwood is sleepy good. They made a regional final last year. I think they could be a team to watch out for. I think one that you might not like the pick, but I like to pick is Strake Jesuit. I think with John Hebert, you saw what he did last year. He led them, I believe, to the 3rd round against Kingwood. I think they could be a sleeper. But those are kind of the main teams I'm watching out for in D2. If Katy was D2, then Katy would be in that mix too. D1, I think Region 3 is wide open. I
do too.
And Northshore is great. Atascocita is great.
Ridgepoint could be great.
Fulcher gave Atascocita a run for their money last year, and I think if Ridgepoint can put it together, they're going to be the team to watch, and you're going to have to really prepare for it in the playoffs. So I think Region 3 is open. Region 2, I think this is the year in Region 2 where a Houston team wins the Region 2 title and advances to the state semifinal. I'm not saying that they necessarily make it to state, but I think if there was a year for a Region 2 Division 1 team to win that region, it's this year. And that's either going to be the Woodlands, Conroe, Bridgeland, Klein Cain, Collins. One of those teams I feel like can do some damage, with it more than likely being the Woodlands and Bridgeland. Mm-hmm. And Cy Ranch, for that matter.
Okay, I got 2 more questions. One, and I love this guy, and I never met him, but this dude is awesome. What? The anomaly that is Keyshawn Henderson at Legacy School of Sports Science. Am I saying that right? Something like that.
Legacy School of Sports Sciences.
I think I just like to hang out with him because he's super funny and he's just an interesting guy. But is he the number 2 quarterback in the country?
They just scrimmaged Texas City yesterday, I believe. Well, by the time this is put out, it'll be last week. But he looked pretty good against Texas City. They've got a matchup at Second Baptist that'll be one that we're going to be at. I think Keyshawn has really developed over the past year and a half, even since the All-American game, and I think he's become that guy. I'm ready to watch him in pads. I've watched him in 7-on-7. I've watched him on air. I'm ready to watch him in pads and see what he's really about in pads. But yeah, I think he's that guy. I think he's got Legacy had some transfers come in that are pretty nice. They got a safety a cornerback from Crawford who came over. They got a big tight end who came over from Tompkins. They got Michael Brown, the A&M commit, who's already there. They could be a fun team to watch this year. Now, obviously, they don't necessarily have a
schedule,
a district, I would say, or like a league, like a full-time league that they're in. But I think that they could be fun. I think Keyshawn is that guy.
You think he's the number 2 quarterback in the country?
I think so.
Oh man,
I think so. I think he is. I believe he is.
I think he's awesome.
I don't know if there's another quarterback in the country that I would say is better, or in state. Maybe you could argue the Bo Bentley kid from Salina, but I don't think there is. I mean, especially in state, there's definitely not. I don't think there is a quarterback that's better than him in state.
First week of the season, the VYPE Friday night game of the week, Second Baptist and Legacy School of Sports and Sciences and Algebra. This is going to be amazing. I think it's going to be awesome. I think a lot of people are going to watch because they're like, who in the world is this dude that rocks the coonskin cap? I got to see him. He's made for TV. The rankings came out for underclassmen. Houston is loaded in 2028.
Yeah, there were
loaded.
4 kids. I believe it was 24/7, On3, and Rivals put out their rankings. We put out our rankings beforehand, but Micah Rhodes is the number
From Klein Oak.
From Klein Oak is the number 1 player in the state. He's a high 4-star, composite 5-star. Or actually, no, he's the number 1 running back in the country, number 30 player overall, and I believe number 2 player in the state. Armani Edwards from Cy Ranch that we just talked about, he's the number one tackle and I believe number 1 player in the state of Texas, top 6 nationally. And then Jalen Adai, another kid that everybody's going to get to know this year at Shadow Creek. He's going to be playing wide receiver. He's going to be electric.
Dad played at LSU in many years in the NFL with Peyton Manning.
Yeah, him. Yes. And then Tristan Gaines, I believe, was rated as a 3-star. He's one of the top quarterbacks in the country.
From Waller.
No
one's ever seen him.
And then I'm the last Houston one that was in the top 10 for at least state rankings and nationally. I can't necessarily remember his name right at this time, but there were 4 kids out of the top 10 for the state as of right now. Houston, I think, is going to be loaded in 28, 27. And then we haven't even talked about 2029 with, like, you talk about Rush Williams.
BJ LaFell.
Yeah, like, there's a lot of kids. I think you always see this every couple of years where, like, maybe one class isn't as heavy as, like, the 24 and 25 classes were loaded. 26 class has great talent, and they're kind of top heavy. I think when we get to 27, 28, and 29, those are going to be loaded classes all the way through.
Well, let's get this bad boy kicked off. Go pick up the magazine at HEBs across the city of Houston, or go to our website and purchase them, or go to our Instagram and Twitter and look in our bio and purchase them there. They're going to be amazing. The cover is sick. The content is amazing. With that being said, we'll see you every week. Matt Jackson on my whistle. See you at the game.